Kansas City's chief Harrison Butker is basically being blasted because during a commencement speech over this past weekend, he was encouraging women to remain homemakers. Stay home, girls. Don't go to work, okay? He basically said the most important titles that a woman could have is being a homemaker. Honey, wake up. Now, I will say that if a woman does want to stay at home, she should, right? And if the family can afford it, definitely. And at Benedictine College, it is a Catholic college, but I'm sure there's women graduating there. So, what? Why are you even basic? So he says, how many of you are sitting here now about to cross the stage and are thinking about all the promotions and titles you are going to get in your career? Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world. And then he added on to say, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and children and the children you will bring into this world. Like I said, if a woman wants to stay home and she has enough resources where she can, more power to her. But unfortunately for most women, it takes two incomes to support a family. So of course I wanted to see where was his unrealistic logic coming from, which made him feel so entitled to talk about the feminine energy and what women should be doing. So, of course, I had to look up his birth chart. So first off, for Mr. Butker, also known as Butt Kicker, he was born on July 14th, 1995 in Georgia. Unfortunately, I do not know his time of his birth, but in all honesty, we don't need it. We're just going to go off of what we know. So we know that he is a sun in Cancer. He's a moon in Aquarius, and he has his Mercury and his Venus in Cancer. Okay, first of all, we have to remember that Cancer is a very feminine sign. It is ruled by the moon, and it also with the Cancer, him being a male Cancer, I could tell that that feminine energy is probably always kind of tugging at him a little bit, where he feels like he has to validate his masculinity by telling women what they need to do. Also, he has a Mars in Virgo, which lets me know that he is very diabolic when it comes to the feminine. Sometimes he could be extremely happy for this feminine energy being around him, but he could also be very assertive when it comes towards female traditions, especially when it comes towards the household and domestication and areas of patterns and rituals. And also when I think about the Mars in Virgo, I feel like he might have some areas where he has an uneasy stomach. And I'm sure he's trying to clean up this mess right now. The moon in Aquarius lets me know that he is very emotional in certain aspects about the collective, and he might think that he's actually trying to help people, but in all honesty, he just needs to take a big dose of shut the fuck up. The Jupiter in Sagittarius lets me know that he is very adventurous, and he does have a big energy of philosophy behind him, but he probably is very naive and he is probably a little bit reckless. So with the Jupiter in Sagittarius, it might make it a little bit volatile and a little bit unnecessary on some of the things that he is enhancing or speaking of. Another thing that stands out to me is that he has his Uranus and his Neptune both in Capricorn, as we currently right now have this energy where it feels very aligned in career and also being very rebellious and also being very naive and a little bit delusional. Another thing that I want to point out is that he has his Chiron again with Virgo. This Virgo energy aligned with the Mars is probably making him a little bit more aggressive in areas of healing and traumatic childhood wounds. And I have a feeling he had a pretty good life, and his mom probably was a stay-at-home mom, but I'm not 100% sure. And if she wasn't a stay-at-home mom, he was probably very fixated on why couldn't his mama be home with him all the time. Babe, sometimes it just doesn't work out like that. Another thing that stands out to me is he has his Saturn in Pisces. And while his Saturn in Pisces is at 24 degrees, and Pisces is currently now aligned with Saturn at 17 degrees. It's not a full Saturn return, but it is getting close. And let's be honest, these couple of years probably have been a little bit centered where he's maybe having some experiences around his responsibilities. And while maybe he's expecting the woman to take care of everything, it's kind of creating this frustration with him on some of his areas of career, especially as we have that energy being centered in the spiritual presence of the Pisces. So he was probably thinking that he was more spiritually awoke or awaken or more spiritually aligned, but he forgot to realize that the entitlement that he might have and the energy of success that he might not have, that he may have, isn't necessarily what everybody has. I guarantee there's probably a huge majority of women who are actually very passionate about their career and, in all honesty, don't plan on having children at all. And the fact that he just obliviously didn't even think of that lets me know that he is more centered on what the feminine energy can do for him as a masculine in the area of gender, and not necessarily what the feminine can do for society as a whole, and really reflecting the spiritual essence of the collective. And everything is always tied into responsibilities, but in all honesty, the biggest responsibility is living in your true energetic alignment. And the fact that he can't see that lets me know that his enlightenment is very minimal. Is not only his transitioning Saturn is being aligned in Pisces, but he also has Neptune in there. It's also that his Neptune is being aligned with the energy of Pisces, which can make him a little delulu currently. But also we have his transitioning Mercury going over Taurus. And this might be a time where he is having a little bit of a conscious awareness, and it's really coming forward in the public image. And also there might be some communication about his parents and the relationships that he's had with them. And if he hasn't been truthful about that, it's time that he gets truthful with it. So we have to talk about the transitioning Mars that is currently occurring. Is having a strong square with his natal Venus. And we have to remember his natal Venus is in Cancer. So this area is feeling very abruptly awoken, and also feeling very much centered where he is not able to confine his thoughts, his aggressions, and his feelings on things that have to do with the energy of the feminine. Say is, even though this is affecting his public image, I wouldn't be surprised if this somehow might even affect a little bit of his finance. Because not only is his interpersonal relationships are totally being abrupted by this Mars energy, but so is his financial and external. I honestly think that this is a time that he does some more socialization with people who aren't in his very small circle of entitlement, and really get out there and explore the world for what it has, and all of the great women who have made changes. And some of them have done this while raising successful children. So pay close attention, Mr. Butt Kicker.